I've been waiting for this, Christopher. 2 years or so ago, we would talk about these things and they were in the future and now they're happening. So let's talk about how you see AI, robotics, and the future of where we're headed.
So, great topic. Great question. In the long run, AI is going to continue to increase in capability. And later this year, humanoid robotics are going to enter the picture, and they are built to be converged with this AI that's developing quickly. What we're already seeing right now is a transformation in how hiring is taking place, and that's because of AI. And we've seen a shift in VC funding to entrepreneurs that are able to automate certain 100K job functions like coding, billing, legal, accounting, etc. And as AI continues to get better, it continues to get better than humans at these specific things. So VCs are asking for these to be automated so that they don't have to spend money on them anymore, getting the business started. So that started in February, late January. Data's coming out now that 80% of their funding is going towards platforms like this, meaning the competition is going to have, a lot less overhead because they're not having to pay these humans to produce, and they're still able to automate that paperwork stream. So now we'll see the final result is in terms of clerical accuracy. But I believe that, there's a trajectory for AI to be better than humans in every single aspect that we use for thinking. But I know that we can do other things than just think. But in terms of intelligence and thinking, AI is going to replace that. So we'll use our thinking in a different way, mostly to vibrate at certain levels and think positively. It's like, what is AI going to do to intelligence? Same thing the calculator did to arithmetic. Same thing word processing did to spelling. Okay. So we're just going to have to say, I want this to happen. And then the AI will do it. When we have our personalized AI agents, and then if it's something that's nefarious and would do harm to others, then you'll hear from the federal government. So unless you're doing something really stupid, you won't hear from them anymore. But if you ask your AI to do something nefarious, you'll get a visit for sure. The new hiring has automated job functions. But the current existing bunch of businesses is what we pay attention to. And only 7% of that cluster has adopted AI other than chatbots. Because everybody thinks AI is just chatbots. No, the people that have adopted it have converged it with their IP and integrated it into their enterprise systems. So that's something different. That's using agents to automate paperwork streams. So people don't really realize how deep it is right now at all. That means that there's a squeeze being put on, because we have these new businesses that are being created without these job functions, but still able to do the same thing, who are about to be competing on the market with these businesses that are behemoths and have humans working in them. So these behemoths are going to be forced to automate to compete with these newcomers that just started coming online. And that's going to happen in months' time. I honestly believe we're all being lied to right now, that most of the global leaders know that there is a transformation going on that involves AI and robots replacing labor, solar and batteries replacing energy, and then autonomous EVs replacing transportation. And that's what this is about. We have to throw a grenade in the old system, pave the way for this new one to come in, because they're all platforms that the new socioeconomy are going to be built on.
We know that eventually humans will not be required to do whatever of work. Do you think there's also a transformation, not only things you're talking about in the 3D world, but is there a transformation taking place where people change the way they relate to each other, or they have more time for each other, something like that? Do you have any ideas about that?
I do. And I like it. I like to break it down into three things, because with our centralized government, we focus centrally on solutions. I like to categorize our government in three main functions: structural, functional, and then social. Okay. And then when you want things to happen in the social, you're competing with these other commitments, structural and functional. All right. So that's why it hasn't worked out the way we want it to, because we've converged all these things into single decision-making institutions. So, my opinion is adopting AI, blockchain, and robots into our governmental processes and systems would enable us to cut costs by 90% and scale the exact need, so nobody's left behind, because if it's 90% cheaper, then you can afford to get it to everybody because you've automated all the processing. Employment value behind creating these outcomes goes away because that's all done by software and hardware, but the outcome and impacts are still there. And this is going to include like housing, interactions with the stock market. So now you hear I'm talking about structural and functional pieces. So then it's like when all these things are automated and working and seamless and scaled to the need, there's only going to be a focus on social. So that time is coming, and I believe it's coming within the next 4 years. And I believe we'll be incentivized to interact with each other in new ways through these decentralized open source platforms.
You said the tariffs were a good thing because...
Yeah, I mean, you throw a grenade in the old system, and part of that old system is globalization. So tariffs destroy globalization that's super integrated, and it's been getting stronger, over the decades. We're able to do this because we're the largest portion of the world economy. So this is really putting meta economics to the test because it goes beyond macro. This is a global thing. In recognizing that the old system is more costly, the globe is now going to either start to come and ask for trade deals, which I don't think are going to happen, or they're going to realize what we're doing, putting a focus on AI, robots, and crypto, and then follow our lead so that they can become sovereign on their own, so that they don't need to trade with other countries to build goods and services because AI and robots can do that for cheaper than they're doing it now. And I'm already hearing rhetoric like this coming out of countries. 50 countries come for a trade deal, and then the others are like, we have to become sovereign, we have to use this new tech, we have to do this on our own.
Will this localization of nations move to areas, regions, and even communities?
I believe that top level and mid-level governments are going to automate. So all of the decision-making power comes back to local. If we're not all competing for a singular budget, then there won't be as much strain on how we think about each other.
We're throwing a grenade in the system? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So it's going to start with cars. I'm predicting a catastrophic gas car sales collapse in the next... So by the end of 2027, less than 10% of car sales will be gas car. And that's starting with the tariffs. Here, listen to this. This is like a global scheme thing going on right now, which is going to lead to really, really good improvements across the globe. Tariffs are going to increase the price of cars. Tariffs on parts are going to increase again the price of cars. Less cars are going to be imported, and then they're going to sell less cars because it's a higher price. That's the beginning of the catastrophic car sales collapse. But lo and behold, 1 month later, autonomy is going to enter the picture in a large scale with the neural net vision-based autonomy, which is a new player. It's not Waymo. It's not LiDAR. And it can work in areas where LiDAR can't. The theory there is we use our cars on average for people who own 2 hours a day. So 22 hours a day, it's left sitting idle. And if it were out giving rides to people, then the utilization of that time goes up and it's profitable. Calculations right now that are being sent to Wall Street from these providers are very conservative, saying we expect these cars to be active 10 hours a day, meaning it's still doing nothing for 14 hours or deadheading. So I think that's very conservative. But technically that means you're utilizing it 5 times more because you go from 2 hours to 10 hours. So it's like, all right, if we're able to handle the utilization of 5 people for 1 taxi, then that means that 5 newer used vehicles will not be bought if that person sticks with the service. All right. So this is where the actual catastrophic car sales collapse comes in as autonomy starts to spread. And I don't think it's going to take as long because the regulatory effects are happening now. All those deals are happening now. And anywhere where there's Uber, taxi, or Lyft, these things will be. There'll be Teslas to begin, and then the cybercabs come out next year. And then the third thing is that now with the trade wars starting, China has said anybody who drops their tariffs against us will do free trade with you, okay? Which is massive because they'll have the cheapest batteries, the cheapest EVs, the cheapest robots, and the cheapest AI. And if every other country does free trade with China, they'll be fine because they'll be able to do this quickly. China wants to open free trade with any country that would drop tariffs against them. But they're looking out for their own interests now because they've been able to develop their country to a certain point. If they're going to become an export powerhouse, like continuing their dominance there, but into the next paradigm, that's what they're saying. And that's massive because there's lots of value there. So if all other countries can get their EVs for 11,000, 15,000, have autonomy, have their own robots for $99 a month, that kind of thing, that's going to happen because of China. But ours are going to be better. Ours will be better quality. Ours will be doing more because we have the expertise and we have the best engineers developing all the parts. So we'll see how it plays out. But those are the three main things that are going to drive catastrophic car sales collapse, because if people are buying $11,000 EVs that can go 400 miles and charge in 10 minutes, they're not going to be buying a gas car.
You said that by localizing nations doing their own stuff, won't that eventually wear down this idea that one country produces everything for everybody?
No, because trade will still exist, but it will all be raw materials. And then the AI will try to create supply chain agnostic, meaning we want to get the same outcome and impact with the raw materials that we have. So yeah, I believe all nations will get there through their AI.
They will be equitable?
Oh yeah, and they'll be able to not only be able to manipulate their GDP per capita by, building more robots, asking their AI to do more and more complex things. So
now, when you said that AI and robotics could replace government agencies?
Yeah, I mean, technically, I even think military, because I think military will be droids and drones in the future for sure.
I'm talking about public service, the things that we do for each other through the
Oh
government.
yeah, so like
Will be
Estonia is a great.
90% cheaper, so we can do, 90% more for each other.
Yeah, and Estonia is a great example of this because
Mhm.
they've decentralized their government systems, put them all on the blockchain, and they're doing all distribution of goods and services from the government asynchronously, autonomously, and 24/7. So there's kiosks set up everywhere, and they go to the kiosks to get their help. So that's automating the structural and functional so that people can spend more time with each other. And that has started to happen. And there was a major cultural upheaval when this first happened. Like everybody was spray painting everything at the ground level because they felt like they weren't being represented, but they just didn't know how to use the kiosks. So now that they do, everybody's happy and everybody's giving good review.
What's the kiosk?
Kiosk is like an ATM, but government services.
Oh, you just go to the ATM and say, I need buy.
Right. And then you don't have to go take a seat and wait in line and talk to a person. It just happens because if you meet the criteria that's embedded in the smart contracts on the blockchain, it automatically happens because they have all their systems plugged into it.
So we get lots more for a lot less.
Right. And quicker. And so it's not a drain on their government. It's not a drain on the people. Everybody gets what they need. Then it's just all about, making sure that all your systems are advancing, not just existing, but advancing.
There'll be a question about the programming and whatnot, but
no, it's meant to be open source, kind of, because everybody's information is on the blockchain. Any citizen can log in and look at anybody else's information, even the president's. So I know where you live, I know how many kids you have in there, all that stuff. It's all listed for anybody to see because they're much more brave than we are. So the more for less, you can start to see affecting us in real time because it's starting to happen with more and more things. The biggest change has been in the AI. So for people who know how to plug into the APIs and use the AIs that way, it has become much cheaper for them because we just pay subscription and use the chatbot. That's what we know how to do at the ground level here, general public. But these guys, yeah, when DeepSeek came out with the open source and made everything cheaper, they're now able to do 20 times more than they were in January. And they've been doing that for months now.
You said robots for $99 a month.
Oh, yeah. China's going to be able to do that when they first put them on the market because theirs are going to start at like 15,000 and then they'll lease them for $100 a month. And then it'll go down from there.
What do you think about UBI, Universal Basic Income?
I'm thinking there are multiple ways to get there. If we start to lose employment at an accelerated rate, which will happen once the robots leave, the system of their manufacturer, but they'll definitely fill in all of their lines with robots before they do that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was I just saying?
Okay, when the robots start filling in manufacturing, they'll create more robots.
Right. And then they'll start to hit goods and services and other manufacturers very quickly. So the accelerated job loss is going to hit vocational, any type of physical labor that exists over time. And right now, AI can already do intellectual labor that exists. And then it will be any type of intellectual labor over time. It's going to happen. It may happen sooner than I thought. This might be the beginning of it. If the trade war does create a collapse, and people start to lose their jobs because of the tariffs, that might be a smokescreen for what was about to really happen. And then as people are losing their jobs, this automation can take place rapidly. And I think that's exactly what's about to happen. And as it happens, just like in COVID, we'll get it through unemployment first. And then when the Treasury redefines all of its measures, it'll go to the Treasury through Bitcoin bond accounts. And the Bitcoin bonds are coming. We got a bill to get $2 trillion worth of Bitcoin bonds offered, and then 10% of that goes into the reserve. So 200 billion into the reserve. And that's just from one offering. And that's not even talking about stable coins. So it's like we can tax the robots. I'm sure that'll happen. That'll create enough revenue for UBI. And when the robots are manufacturing, prices are going to start to come down massively because we're going to have businesses competing with these behemoths, as I mentioned earlier, that are going to not have to have all these costs and be able to compete on price and lowering price over time, because it's going to be, you don't have to go through the same trouble to get the workforce. All you got to do is bring in another robot and then converge AI into it with any specialization. UBI can come from taxing the robots. UBI can come from the deflation that's going to come in the prices. UBI can come from the increased productivity and sales that are going to come through those lower prices. So the taxes that will exist after all this, I bet there'll be flat taxes, but that could cover it. That's part of the argument that's existed forever, is we need to raise taxes to pay for UBI. That will still be there. Decentralized open source co-op platform initiatives will use AI to trade and provide de facto UBIs for certain populations within their ability. Cryptos themselves will form a safety net globally so that nobody has to depend on their central government for welfare anymore.
What about the Federal Reserve? How, do we just drop that system, or?
I think that they're going to fight pretty hard, but I think Doge is going to be at their door within a month. And then, I think they'll become a target, and I think the legislature will get rid of them. I do think that. All the rhetoric around using stablecoins to maintain U.S. dollar dominance makes sense.
Do you remember Brian Winters?
I do.
He's got an idea we'll do a Jubilee and print a $47 trillion platinum coin and put it in the Treasury, start issuing UBI from the Treasury as an asset.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to get at with the stablecoin. I think it's going to be through Bitcoin bonds. All the stablecoin is going to be on the Bitcoin blockchain, and then we'll receive the stablecoin in coupons. Coupons means a monthly or bi-monthly or 3-month or 6-month payment. And that's another way to do the UBI, but we'll receive it in stablecoin through the Bitcoin bond account. That's my bet. That's my guess. And there's already headlines on the design of it. So it is happening. Then we're going to have decentralized competitors in banking. A lot of people don't know this, but banks are one of the sectors that hold the most patents in blockchain technology because they knew this was coming as soon as Bitcoin came out. Now you're starting to see the headlines of the purpose of that. All of the individual banks are creating their own stable coins, and then they want those stable coins to become legal tender. So that's their battle now. So banks are under a lot of stress right now.
Will we have a bunch of different kind of coins?
Well, when we have our decentral wallets, a list of every single coin that's in there and how much we have of it. But yeah, if we have like Bank of America, I bet that we'll have our Bank of America stablecoin. We'll have access to decentralized stablecoin. And then we'll have our assets underneath that, which are all the other stocks, bonds, cryptos, like Bitcoin and ETH and stuff.
How far are we from a decentralized wallet?
I mean, they already exist. So the one thing that everybody's waiting on right now is the crypto framework that we are creating. We created the task force in January and gave them 6 months. So I'm hearing around Memorial Day is when a lot of things are going to happen.
Will somebody issue me a digital wallet?
Yeah, and you'll probably just have account that you can log into through the treasury.gov website to view all of your stats.
So what they'll do is they'll just give me an account at the Treasury Department.
Right, and it'll be like a public key, so it'll be a crypto type thing, but you can probably hook your email to it or have a username and password if you want. Very soon it'll be more seamless, so you won't know the difference between crypto and regular stuff that you do.
This has come full circle to where we no longer work for a living. We are not working for money. We only work for the joy of work. Make it available for people to have a mission and a purpose. Instead of people trying to make decisions, we'll have AI saying, weighing the pros and cons of each thing, and giving us a choice of what we think is best for us.
That's right. We do have to recognize that there is a battle going on right now in the AI space between decentral and central. It's an important battle. It's the same type of battle as, antivirus versus virus.
Right.
So we have to think about, when we look at all those statistics of how good these AIs are stacked up against each other, how many of those AIs are open source? It matters a lot because that's the decentralized, wheelhouse. Not all of them are decentralized, but a decentralized open source competitor like SingularityNet and the Artificial Superintelligence Alliance in this space is so important because it gives us the ability to create our own personalized AI agents that can negotiate with any other agent that exists. And the more of us that know that, the better. And there's a bunch and these platforms are proliferating in the crypto space right now.
When we talk about platform, can you give me a visual that I can hold in my mind of, is it something that you can put things on, or is it?
Think about it as an energetic vibration.
Okay, an energetic vibration.
Right. A lot of these platforms are going to start in the non-physical, in the digital. All right. And so you're going to digitize it first, and then it enters the 6Ds. But the whole point of digitizing something is to be able to extend an offering through mind connection. So you're connecting through the mind based on the value of the offering that's that the team or the AI is promising to bring into the world. So that's what you weigh things from. It's like, if this value is spread in the world, what's the eventuality of that?
Right.
So then it's like, okay, so if I'm meeting with my mind rather than if this is a man or a woman, or if they like to, have sex in a certain way, or if they're a different color, or if they're religious in some way, none of that matters. We're all resonating on the offering that's being brought forth by the platform.
Okay.
So the platform holds the protocols, and the protocols to me are a constitution.
I want to create the Happy Company Cooperative. And I've started with the idea of the way you set up a corporation now. I think I need a platform, not a corporation. I need a place where there's an offering.
I believe that you can create a proof of happiness blockchain that measures people's happiness based on a device they wear. So it would be a D-pin that measures their tone of voice and vitals so they can't lie about it. And it's all sensor based. That's where we're heading. We have to eliminate the human error, and we can measure those vitals now. It's a new world, and then we got 3-lead EKGs now. So people can plug it into their phone and then submit that data to their doc.
Oh, really?
within 5 minutes without them having to leave their home. So all these wearables now are collecting data that's going to make us very valuable because a lot of these corporations that we hate have agreed to allow all the data secondarily onto an open source sieve for any platform to plug into. Like Apple has
Yeah.
Apple Health, and then Apple collects all that data and they use it for their purposes. But then they've said we're going to agree to participate in this platform where all of that same data goes onto the platform and anybody can use it. So they've opened up their silo. That's what that means. But
That's
they still benefit from it, because they get the primary data and then it's all released at the same time to anybody else. And that proves the point that you can still benefit from data because someone else might be using it differently. And that's exactly what these AI agents are about to do. There's a lot more pain to be felt. This is the real pain that we're talking about. And if you were going to
yeah.
retire now, you're not doing very well. When we hit that trough in mid-May, that's going to be around the time we're going to hear that the crypto platform is coming out. And I think that we're going to accept that AI isn't evil and it's not going to be the value we thought it was because of open source, not because of its
Right.
capability, but because there's an open source competitor with everything. And that's going to
Right.
stay. And I guarantee it. Look at the convergence of AI and anything else. I guarantee open source will follow it. Right, right. So I ask people that there's a very important thing going on right now. And it's going to enable us to transcend politics. And I just want them to put their minds in a place where that is, the foundation, where we don't have to think about these things anymore because we've changed the socioeconomic system and we had to one system has to come to an end for the other to
Right.
exist. And that's what's going on
Right.
right now. The system is coming to an end. People call it the Great Reset, but I've described what's about to happen. And I believe we are moving towards material and financial and emotional abundance, in addition to
Yes.
time abundance on top of that.
Right on. And freedom.
Yeah. And as long as you're not asking your AI to harm people, you're going to be just fine.
I was talking to my friend Faye about China. If they're not interested in politics, they say, I'm not interested in politics, and they trust that the people that step up will be judged on their ability. They'll move up in accordance.
I think that we are going to be able to focus on social and then our own internal energy, mastering our own energies. And then I think our boredom will breed creation because we'll be like, I wonder what would happen if we do this and this, and then your AI would just show you. And then you just dive into the flow. I think that's going to happen a
Yeah.
lot. I think people will start to make a living playing video games, and then they'll have a drone deliver their Taco Bell to them, and they'll never leave the couch. And they'll be contributing just as much to society because they're earning a living doing it. Tariffs, autonomy, EVs will do for cars. Tariffs and manufacturing with robotics and expertise will do batteries and solar. And then when we have automated distribution networks, we're going to have goods flowing 10 times more than they are now, and the robots will move every single one.